guys? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, Jeff Trunapole, and as always, I bring you sports from a West Side point of view right here from the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio. All right, here's a rundown of the topics I'll be discussing today. Now, I've been hard on the national media a lot. Well, they've given me lots of reason, about how the Bengals shouldn't draft Joe Burrow. They're a terrible organization. You've heard all of it. Well, Zac Taylor was on the Dan Patrick show earlier today. It was actually a pretty nice interview. Dan Patrick did a good job. And Zac Taylor gave his most definite answer without actually saying they're going to draft Joe Burrow. Basically said they were going to draft him. I'll get to that in a minute. I know it's kind of a weird way to say it, but I'll explain it to you here. And the Bearcats, Luke Fickell keeps getting better and better. They got a grad transfer with 2 years left coming from Notre Dame. I'll tell you all about him here in a minute. Let's get on to this Zac Taylor interview with Dan Patrick. Now, Dan, this is the question that I think pretty much answers who and what the Bengals are going to do with the number one pick. All right. Dan asked Zac if there is a scenario that would change who they would pick. Zac said, "It doesn't look that way. If there's a guy there who you believe in that could really change the franchise over the next 15 years, that's a hard thing to pass up on." That's what I've been saying. Joe Burrow is going to be your quarterback as long as he stays healthy for the next 15 years. Hopefully Pro Bowl, and hopefully as good as we all think he is. All right, Dan went on to ask him. Zac expanded upon the question. Zac, people ask me all the time, what would it take to give up that pick, meaning the number one overall pick? If there is somebody that they're willing to give up a lot, meaning that they believe in that player, that really verifies what we think about those players as well. Basically, what Zac's saying is, if Miami is willing to give up 4 number ones and all this stuff for the number one pick, they really believe in Joe Burrow. The Bengals really believe in Joe Burrow. That really verifies what we're thinking about, meaning they're going to draft Joe Burrow. Now, that should end all the talk about the Bengals drafting Joe Burrow. They're going to draft him. They're not going to trade him. I don't know how else he can answer it without saying we're going to take Joe Burrow, which would be nice if he'd say that. We'll get to that a little farther down here in the interview. All right, Dan asked Zac, what's the future for Andy Dalton with the team? Zac said he's still under contract, and as I like to say, we have all the options on the table. Zac also said Andy has meant a lot to him and a lot to the team, and we're just trying to make the best decision for the team. Which the problem is there's no place for Andy to go, unless they just want to give him away. Dan asked Zac about keeping Andy. Zac said, I've seen it work both ways, meaning there's teams where they've kept a veteran quarterback to mentor the younger quarterback, and there's been ways where they've done it without it, where the quarterback is just on his own. He says, and we have great quarterback coaches in the building, but if Andy is still around, that is a great setup for us. And honestly, at this point, unless you're going to take a 6th-round pick for Andy, and it doesn't look like the Bengals are going to, they might just hang on to him now, which, like I said, I'd still like to get his money off the books, but I can kind of understand you don't just want to give him away. And Andy's a really nice guy, and he's I think he'd be a very good guy for Zac to learn. I won't say under, because Zac is going, or not Zac, Joe is going to start. But, And anyway, get back to the interview here. Dan asked Zac, how nervous are you heading into the draft? Zac said, not nervous at all, just excited. We've got now this is something you don't hear. Now, it's a Bengals coach saying it, but you don't ever hear this said about the Bengals. We got a great scouting department. What? We got a great scouting department. We put all the work in the last 3 months. It's like getting ready for the season. You're prepared for it and can't wait to see how it all shakes out. As far as what I've heard is, I think through the quarantine and the virtual, whatever you want to call it, the NFL has let the Bengals, I think they can talk to him for an hour 3 times a week. And another thing that Zac said on the show, they're calling Joe. They've used all 3 of their hours. Tony Pike, I'll get his name right. Tony Pike on his radio show today, when he was talking about that, said, I wonder if that means that they are installing the playbook to Joe already, which it could be. I mean, you're calling him, talking to him for 3 hours a week. What else are you talking to him about? Or they're negotiating with him for his contract. Either way, it's pretty good, and I'm pretty sure they're, like I said, I've been saying this the whole time, they're going to draft Joe Burrow. Okay, now this is what I was saying before when I said I wish they'd just come out and say they're going to draft Joe Burrow and end this whole thing. But they didn't ask him that. Have you been told by the NFL not to reveal who you are taking number 1? Zac said no. It's just a decision that we've made. Now this, I was shocked to hear come out of Dan Patrick's mouth, because some of the stuff he said before about the Bengals organization and their quarterbacks, which, he hasn't been very nice or any, complimentary to the Bengals or Cincinnati at all. But this is what Dan Patrick said. He said Cincinnati has developed some very good quarterbacks throughout the years. Didn't say great, but very good quarterbacks. Dan Patrick said that. I know it wasn't that long ago where he was ripping the Bengals and, I don't know if the Bengals, Joe really wants to go there. Now he's, they've developed some really good quarterback over the years. This whole narrative of this story that they have tried to create from the end of the college season all the way to the draft, which next Thursday is the draft, I cannot wait, is all been a bunch of crap. The Bengals all along were going to draft Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has been fine coming to the Bengals. He has had no problem. I mean, I said this on one of my shows last week. Joe Burrow almost transferred to the University of Cincinnati. That was one of his choices he was considering. So, he wasn't scared to come to Cincinnati for football for the Bearcats. I don't think he's going to be scared to come here for the Bengals. So anyway, for the 8,527th time, the Bengals are drafting Joe freaking Burrow. I think Zac Taylor pretty much confirmed that on the interview today. All right, as I said before, Luke Fickell is still getting his recruiting class. We're going to be really good next year when college football starts. Just saying. All right, Bearcats football has signed a former Notre Dame wide receiver in Michael Young. He's transferring to the University of Cincinnati. He's 5'11", 190 pounds. Will be a grad transfer and set to play right away. Now this is, I think, interesting. It's a grad transfer, so he already graduated, but he still has 2 years left of eligibility, which is really unusual. I mean, usually your grad transfer, you only get 1 year. All right, Young spoke to the Irish Illustrated, which I've never heard of before. I guess it's the Irish version of Sports Illustrated, and 24/7 Sports about his decision. Quoting Young, great team, great players, staff, and city, and the community. I was fortunate enough to get a chance to be around some of those people, and I think that's what put it over for me. I'm also a fan of what they do on offense, and I see that I have the opportunity, and it's similar to my time at Notre Dame, and he's going to be able to contribute right away and be a bigger factor in the offense. So, he's looking at it this way. The offense looks similar to what Notre Dame does, so it's not going to be a big change, and he's also got more opportunity, and he'd be a bigger factor. So, opportunity and hunger. He wants to prove that he's better than the opportunity that he was given at Notre Dame. These are the guys you want, grad transfers. You want somebody to come in there and prove the other school wrong, like Joe Burrow. Case in point, he left Ohio State. He's looking for an opportunity to prove that he can play. Young, leaving Notre Dame, coming to Cincinnati, looking for an opportunity to prove that he can play. This is good. I mean, UC football is going to be a very, very, very fun to watch next year and the next couple of years. I'm very excited about it. All right, this show and every show is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out their website at www.tproperties.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. I say that every show. You think I would know it by heart by now. Anyway, all right. So I got some Facebook groups here that I like, that help run, and I like to share with you guys. Got Bengals Nation, Reds Country, and Bearcat Country. Go in there and check them out. We can discuss all things sports. My YouTube subscribers, you guys are awesome. We are up to 343. So close to 400. Let's try to push that over to 400. And if you're on the podcast, do me a favor. Give me the 5-star review on Apple. And if you're on Spotify, iTunes, whatever, make sure you like, subscribe. And I hope you guys really enjoyed the interview with Terry Nelson. That was my very first interview I did. I'd like to thank again Terry Nelson for the opportunity and just his insight to Bearcat basketball and the stuff he was saying about John Brandon and how he uses the analytics is amazing. And if you listen to everything he said, when he did his inbound plays, he could see how if the guys are tired or not. If they're tired, he'll just do it quick inbounds to vote like underneath the basket to try and score. So he can read his players very well. So I thought it was very insightful on what Terry gave us. So I'd just like to thank him again for the interview, and hopefully we can do it again sometime. All right, guys. Well, it's a Monday. That's just sports, baby. Tell all your friends about me.